Gentlemen, thank you a lot. Round 2 of the Varsity Cup finished, but no surprises actually today.
Not really, Cole. The only surprise is, I think, especially in the last match that we saw, where probably poor decision making, but a game of two halves. I think Free State University really had the game in the hand and let it slip totally. While we should give credit to Picker for really playing a brilliant second half. But the rest of the results, like you say, we thought that some of them would be closer, but in most of the cases the form teams took the win.
Shane, you attended Marty's versus UWC, or?
Yeah, absolutely fantastic game. I think a very strange game, actually dominated by 6 tries from hookers and from rolling balls, 4 from the starting hooker Venter. Fantastic game, almost got 5. And then Sean Swart came on off the bench, scored 2 more. So dominated by forwards. Little comeback from UWC at the end. Some silly mistakes from them, but I think they were overwhelmed by the more dominant pack, and a good win for them moving forward. Still some good signs that UWC are showing for the rest of the competition, and excited to see what they can do still.
Players that stood out for you?
Definitely, both hookers had a fantastic game. David Brits put up his hand again, captain for Marty's. Christopher Schroeder had a good game at 10 for Marty's. And then UWC, Patrick Kotze scored a good try at the end. And Mavaseri came off the bench to score a good try. A bit here and there for UWC, but all in all they showed a lot of character and spirit to make the scoreboard look a little bit better towards the end, and good ups to them for keeping the fight.
But our first game was CUT versus Madibas. I expected Madibas that the score line wouldn't be, the difference wouldn't be that big.
Yes, Carl, we actually gave Madibas a chance to put up a much bigger fight. Their second game showed a little bit of rust in the first game, or actually a lack of playing together. The fact of the matter is that CUT just actually took the game away from them. CUT played a very, very good game. They are a well-coached side. And we said it after round 1. They again proved that they've got a couple of X-factor players, and they surprisingly put Madibas away. Like you say, we thought that scoreline would be much closer.
But CUT's pack of forwards is the pack of forwards of the tournament at this stage.
Yes, in terms of what you need to do to win a game, the basics that they're putting out on the field, Carl, their ball retention is absolutely brilliant. They're doing, like you say, they're doing the basics very well, where some of our big teams are losing games due to bad ball retention and making poor decisions on the field. I am again not surprised as much anymore, because CUT started playing a couple of very good games last year already. but they've put together two fantastic games. No changes made, so continuity was definitely the plan from the coach, and they succeeded in that because they really played the perfect game to win firstly, but they also played with a lot of enterprise.
Players to watch from that game?
Yeah, quite a couple of the players that also stood out in the first game. Again, Cohen Jasper, Charles Williams, the fly-off, again had a very good game as the pivot. Ulrich Stander, the 8th man, tough character, hard up front. The same with Lavoyu and Devu, a fantastic game from 7. And then Johannes Venter again at hooker. But to me, the standout on the day was, and that's why I'm so impressed with the balance in the team, was Heino Besaidnout, the 12th center, that distributed brilliantly, made a couple of breaks, set up fantastic opportunities for other guys to go and score, and that's why I like the balance of this team, and they've got strong areas across the team from 1 to 15, and that's why the big guns should be walking very lightly.
Yeah. From the Madiba side, any players?
Also, a couple of players that put their hands up again there. Luyolo Dapula did in the first game the 4-lock, a nice and forceful player. We didn't mention him in round 1, but he caught our eye there. Is Tembekile Boltina, the hooker,
first game,
that also had a very proper first game. But their standout player, and I have to say, if I had to nominate a player of the match, even though he came from the losing side, would be Maslali Morsi, who had a brilliant game from 8, a workhorse, and I honestly believe that this boy is going to play some big rugby at the Union at some point.
Shane, and then UJ versus Tux, we expected again, the rumours were there that UJ is going to come out and test Tux.
Absolutely, and it happened at the beginning of the first half. UJ were pushing hard, their forwards dominated, if you can say that, in the first half. Tux got away with only getting a couple penalties against them. They did well to avoid a couple of tries where the scoreboard could have been a little bit different. But good second half from Tux. They came through, they showed some dominance. They came back hard, and they punished UJ for not scoring points early in the match. Look, UJ, they have the structures there in place. I think maybe there's some implementation problems, but they're a good team. They just have a few things they need to iron out to challenge some of the bigger teams. Good performance from them at the beginning of the game, but Tux came through and dominated the rest of the match. Their forwards put their hands up, and some big performances from some of their stalwarts in their backline. Sango, the captain, had a fantastic match. Vian van Niekerk, man of the match, fantastic game. I was really impressed by Clyde Lewis. He had a fantastic game, really impressed, very good on the field, communicating with all the players, very dominant, and big shout outs to my man of the match for that game, Jaco Besaidnout at 8. Absolutely fantastic from the back of the scrum, really dominant, really physical, and helped lead Tux to a quite a comfortable win against UJ.
And UJ, any players that stood out there?
Look, UJ did have a few players that stood out. Kwagga van Niekerk, captain, again had a massive game. The front row, their scrums were quite dominant at the beginning. Darnell, Caden and Shergan in the front row all had good games, and then a good performance from Baldwin as well at fullback.
Okay, Bart, and then the our second game, Wits against UCT. UCT a slower start, but when they got going, it showed again that they're the team to beat.
Yes, Carl. Wits had a very good start. I honestly believe that after their start, they were going to put out a better performance. Unfortunately, we had the break in the game for Lightning. I don't think that really influenced Wits's game, because they came out firing after that again, played well, but didn't score points. And unfortunately, the same errors and sickness of the first game eventually cost them a game where they turned over ball on attack inside the opponent's half, and CUT made them pay for that, where they went and scored crucial points from those turnover ball. CUT had a brilliant second half, and again dominated by their 10. Tedder, who has had another fantastic performance, not just because he's made man of the match, but he's really controlled the game perfectly.
Right, and other players that stood out for you?
If we look on the side of Wits, obviously Justin Brandon started very well, especially the first half. Ngia Selengbe had a good game in midfield. He switched over from wing from the previous game, switched over to centre, but was very well watched by the UCT guys. Jimmy Mpailani from 15 had quite an impressive game. And then Lindo Nkusane came up off the bench and had a very energetic and sharp game as well. On the side of UCT, there's quite a couple of players, and we don't want to mention 7-8 guys every time, but they really had a perfect performance in a lot of respects. So Liam Kloosman, the left winger, always dangerous when he gets the ball. James Tedder, as we mentioned, again man of the match today. Christian Stelik has been a stalwart for them in the first match, again good today. And then Connor Evans, who came in at 4, had a brilliant game. Really played well. Must have gotten very close to player of the match. And then we've got to mention 2 players, and that is where UCT has probably won the Marty's game, and I think as well again today is with their players off the bench. So Kyle Bowman came on at scrum half and really chased the game and played well. And then Byron Bowles, the replacement lock, made a huge difference, brought a lot of energy, a lot of physicalness to the game, and those 2 players off the bench definitely played a huge role for UCT, and we are very sure that, and we've mentioned it, that their bench players will definitely play a role in the rest of the tournament as well.
And the final game was in
Shimla's Eagles, yeah.
Shimla's Eagles. We changed it, no more Pucker, now it's
No more
Eagles.
Pucker.
But that game was, the complete structure of the game was changed in the last 5 minutes of the first half, right?
Yes, again, Carl, we've heard a lot of comments about decision making during the past a couple of the past 2 rounds that we had in Varsity Cup that changed the outcome of games, and this was definitely again a question and something that really at that point Free State University were ahead by 16 points to 0, and they had a penalty inside their own half, and they decided to take a quick tap and they lost the ball there. And in that 5 minutes, the pressure was converted by Pucker, turned into points, and they, as a matter of fact, scored points again just before halftime, which made a possible 16-0 into a 16-12, and the second half turned out to be a completely different game, especially with the players off the bench.
Shane, any players that stood out for you on the Pucker, the Eagles
The
side?
Eagles, absolutely. I think Bart will agree with me here. Malembe Mpofu had an absolutely fantastic game, puts himself in the right positions, doesn't shy away from carrying the ball, and his real dominance on the field. I think he's definitely put his hand up as one of the top players in the Puka in the last 2 rounds. And then of course Gustav Durant winning himself the second man of the match in a row. Had a good game with the forwards, and I think Bart touched on it at the beginning. A game of 2 halves. Shimla's definitely dominant in the first half. Puka came back after a little bit of a shouting at, I think, and dominated the rest of the game to bring out the win.
Bart, and on the Shimla side?
Cole, on Shimla's side, again, the 2 centres, Shane Bolton, and maybe even today, Janko Klink, probably shaded. Shane had a brilliant game at 13. So the 2 centres played very well. Revolt van der Merwe, the 8th man, had a very good game. And then I was very impressed by Shlemelo Klaas, the scrum half, that had a beautiful service to his forwards. And then I've got to mention both the locks, Dylan Schoblom, the lock, and then the 2 props. And we spoke about it. I think that is probably a huge turnaround for Shimlas, was when Javier Meads left the field.
Yep.
At that point, Shimlas absolutely dominated the scrums, and after JW Meads left the field, it turned into 5 penalties for NW for Noordwest Puka without Javier on the other side. So that probably also contributed to this big swing in the game in the second half.
Yeah, you can hear around us, they're busy mowing the pitch and everything. And yeah, but Supersport admitted today that they're watching our show and they find it fascinating. Maybe this is just professional jealousy that's happening here. We don't wear golden shoes like the presenters from Supersport. But only 3 teams still unbeaten. No, 3. CUT,
Tuks,
Marty's,
Marty, no, UCT. Marty's is lost.
Oh, sorry, yes, you're right, absolutely.
So only 3 teams still unbeaten, and yeah, let's see what happens on Sunday.
Yeah, as we expected, today definitely showed the turnaround where some of the teams sort of expected to have a good win or a close game. And obviously completing the first round of matches on Sunday will give us a very good direction of where the competition is probably going. But something that's standing out clearly, Cole, is the depth in the teams are starting to play a huge role. And not only because of talent, but also because of the way that players are managed. So they've got to play the other players that's in the group. You can't go flat out with the same team for 3 rounds in 1 week. And already now it's starting to show which teams' depth are actually carrying them through. And the bigger teams like Marty's, like UCT and Tikkies, those kind of teams, and then obviously it remains to be seen because CUT played the same team today. Yeah. They will be tested come the 3rd match and probably also the next or further rounds. So the depth of the squads definitely will play a huge role, and we'll already see that on Sunday. So looking forward to the next round.
Final thoughts?
Absolutely, no, I agree with everything Bart says. We've definitely seen that this competition has a lot to do with making clear decisions on the field, a lot of players learning the ins and outs of the competition, and we'll see what the reserves can do come Sunday to try and bolster some of the squads. A few players picked up a few niggles, so let's see what the teams can do on Sunday. Good luck to them.
Yeah, just a final thought, Bart and Shane. What I saw today is that the coaches still coach from the sidelines. It's only the UCT or ITs, that didn't coach from the sidelines, and that must affect the players. Personally, I feel you coach during practice, match days, you must leave the decisions and the play on the field to the players. But that's my personal thought. See you on Sunday.